I welcome to the stage our musical guest, Xave and the Ketones!
Thank you very much, everybody. Let me just point out, this is the chemistry edition of the No Show. My Avogadro's number joke didn't land that well. That's okay. That was just a warm-up, but it's time to go to school. Here's the periodic table, and let's get right into it. There's antimony, arsenic, aluminum, selenium, and hydrogen, and oxygen, and nitrogen, and uranium, and nickel, neodymium, neptunium, germanium, and iron, americium, ruthenium, uranium, europium, zirconium, lutetium, vanadium, and lanthanum, and osmium, and astatine, and radium, and gold, protactinium, and indium, and gallium, and iodine, and thorium, and thulium, and thallium. There's yttrium, ytterbium, actinium, rubidium, and boron, gadolinium, niobium, iridium. There's strontium and silicon and silver and samarium and bismuth, bromine, lithium, beryllium, and barium. There's holmium and helium and hafnium and erbium and phosphorus and francium and fluorine and terbium and manganese and mercury and molybdenum and magnesium, dysprosium and scandium and cerium and cesium and lead, praseodymium and platinum, plutonium, palladium, promethium, potassium, polonium and tantalum, technetium, titanium, tellurium, and cadmium and calcium and chromium and curium. There's sulfur, californium, and fermium, berkelium, and also mendelevium, einsteinium, nobelium. There's argon, kryptonium, radium, xenon, zinc, and rhodium, and chlorine, carbon, copper, tungsten, tin, and sodium. This music here was written for a song much less ephemeral. It was the very model of a modern major general. Our man Tom Larry wrote the words in such a manner chemical, but face we now a problem of a making mostly temporal. The previous two verses were conceived of many years ago, but science marches on, and therefore into verse 3 we must go. How wonderful the elements could be so sweetly synchronized, but in the intervening years 16 more have been synthesized. There's oganes and dubnium, minerium, rutherfordium, nihonium, darmstadtium, fluorovium, seaborgium. There's tennessine, lawrencium, muscovium, vermorium, rhomganium, copernicium, and halcium, and borium. Thank you. Thank you very much. I forgot. Oh yeah, so that song's a cover. Tom Lehrer rewrote the words to Modern Major General. So he was covering Modern Major General by Gilbert and Sullivan. And then I covered that, so that's a cover of a cover. But actually, that original song, Modern Major General, was a cover of the song originally by Aristotle. So it's a cover of a cover of a cover. So let me play you the original version by Aristotle. There's earth and air and fire and water. Thank you. Now, I've been writing songs for a long time, and people always ask me what kind of music I write, and I find that question difficult to answer because it's somewhere in the intersection of science, comedy, and like pop music, which there is no genre that's in that intersection. There's no word for it. So I decided to invent my own word, which is perhaps a little self-important, but it's all in the interest of proper nomenclature, which is a good scientific principle. And so the word that I've chosen to describe my own genre of music is mupology, which sounds more like a branch of science than a genre of music, but that's appropriate for tonight. So, and I consider myself to be an experimental mupologist. Here's my card. Haven't got any calls yet. Could be because there's no phone number on there. And let's not talk about the theoretical mupologist. We do not get along. Now, mupology comes from the root word mup, which is an acronym for musical pattern experiment, which is the type of song which my biggest hits are all mups. Go on my YouTube page, sort by popular. Those are my biggest hits, are the musical pattern experiments. Mupology is the study of mups, and a mupologist is a practitioner of mupology. So just so you understand where it comes from. And the reason this came about, because at some point I realized my compositional process was very similar to the scientific method, except instead of publishing in a scientific journal, I publish songs through my mouth. And so I practice the musico-scientific method. And I'd like to take you through the compositional process for this next song as I went through the musico-scientific method in my process. So first of all, the first step is to ask a question, make an observation. And we're still talking about the periodic table. Maybe you thought you were done with the periodic table for the night, but you're not. So the question is, what if you only used the periodic table of the elements to write the lyrics of a song? That's the question. And next we move on to background research. Who else has tried this? Has this been done before? Through background research, we can find various t-shirts, mugs, and tote bags available from places like Zazzle.ca. Typically, these pieces of merchandise generally spell one or at most two words, not an entire song. It's unclear whether these shirts have ever been worn by anyone. As you can see by the graphics, look like stock images with labels with graphics just stapled right on top of them. There would be wrinkles in here if this was actually on the shirt. It's not. Nobody has worn this. Often these shirts are often riddled with mistakes. They're really not very high quality. If we zoom in on this one in particular, this is a particularly egregious mistake. It doesn't say science. It says sciescence. There's no element E, so they had to cheat and throw an Einsteinium in there with an ES. And come on, guys, really? Now, I personally, I am actually sporting a better version of that shirt where you twist the neon around, which I think is a clever little twist that I didn't come up with. I give credit to whichever Zazzle person actually did come up with that. Well done to them. They're one of the good ones. Thank you. After background research, we're still on background. I skipped a background research page, a couple actually. Better results have been discovered by a different demographic, which is grade 9 and 10 high school students. These researchers have achieved full sentences rather than just mistake-riddled single words, which is a significant milestone on the path towards telling a complete story. And so these 14 and 15-year-olds have advanced the field much further than 28-year-old online marketing executives. And here is a sample of their discoveries. This student did a little bit better than this student. And while I was initially concerned about this student, the caveat up here said, "I'm not really," and that assuaged my concerns. All of these students received bonus marks on their science test. Just so you know. Next, we move on to our hypothesis. So having done some background research, we hypothesize that it is possible to write an entire song with a simple narrative using only the symbols from the periodic table. We move on to testing with an experiment. So here is the opening paragraph from A Tale of Two Cities. The green words represent the words that can be formed from the periodic table, and the red cannot. So if Charles Dickens had used this compositional process, the opening paragraph from Tale of Two Cities would have read as follows. Was of foolishness. Was season of, before. Us, before us. Other, in, so far. Oh, I missed a was. That, of its, on its, in, of. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank Charles Dickens. Okay, we move on to the data analysis phase. It is clear that while some words can be formed by the periodic table, the frequency of such words is low. Here's another sample to consider. Here are some words you cannot form using the periodic table and one which you can. Of does seem useful, though it's unlikely it can tell an entire story. So further data analysis shows us that considering the infrequency of periodic words, our creative process must be highly targeted. We're going to focus on subject matter which carries an unusually high percentage of periodic words, and we're going to consider incorporating a second language to increase the size, the potential word list size, in order to tell a full story. Our final step in the musico-scientific method is to report conclusions, which will be reported live in song form momentarily. But before we do, we will present our abstract, which is what we're sending to musico-scientific conferences. And this is a song about a chemist named Lavoisier, which is lanthanum, vanadium, oxygen, iodine, silicon, erbium. Lavoisier was a French scientist. He was involved in the Revolution. And what you're about to hear is his funk biography. And before we perform this for you, I would, as mentioned by Maddox, I would like to invite up, and I'm very excited, our special guest scientist for this evening. Chirs Caputo is going to play bass on this track, so come on up. Dr. Caputo. I'm sorry for that. The technical difficulties were all my fault. I'm very sorry, but wherever you want to stand. That sounds good. Turn yourself up on your bass if you want to be louder. He's playing on stage? Yeah, come on up. Come on up. Let's get on stage. Dr. Caputo! I'm going to turn that up a bit. Oh, I think I can do that on my computer. Now that is a sweet riff. It's yours. Born in Paris in chlorine technicium, Lavoisier is now known as the father of a certain branch of physics. You know, I'm the one with acids, bases, reactions, bases, acids, pH scales, also burettes. Yes, burettes. I think you know which branch of physics I'm talking about. This beat is funky. Ooh, this guy is hunky. Listen up, the funky funk of Lavoisier. A track as hot as banana flambe. Funky funk of Lavoisier, a track that's got as much soul as May Soulier. Now I'll skip to chlorine tantalum. When you burn a thing and you put it in another thing, and you place both on a scale so you can ascertain this crucial fact: mass is gonna be the same. Eureka, the law of conservation of mass. Eureka, the law of conservation of mass. Eureka, the law of conservation of mass. Of mass. Who was that? Oh, you know. I know you know who that was. Listen up, the ionic funk of Lavoisier. A track as hot as a UV ray. Ionic funk of Lavoisier. Your track has got as much heat as whom? As the NRA. Now I'll skip to chlorine plutonium. This type of precipitates in the revolution. It precipitates in solutions. But alas, Lavoisier's got a few foes. So up the choppy McChopper, our hero goes. He resists, but alas, there's no use, none. This sentence he hears before his execution. Stick to the what you give, you wife. So he puts Lavoisier under the silver knife. Ooh. Listen up, the French funk of Lavoisier. A track that espouses liberté. French funk of
Lavoisier stands up for égalité, also fraternité. Wait. So, you know that chart?
Huh? Which one?
The famous one. This is far from done. So what I am wondering is life for number 119. 'Cause if it's not my boy, what are the A? I'm gonna flip my shit. Who was this guy? No lies, so fly. I can verify. Listen Funky funk of Lavoisier. A track as hot as banana flambe. Funky funk of Lavoisier. A track that's got as much soul as mes souliers. S'il vous plaît, encore! Funky funk of Lavoisier. A track as hot as banana flambe. Funky funk of Lavoisier. It's got as much soul as mes souliers. Funky funk of Lavoisier. A track as hot as banana flambe. Funky funk of Lavoisier. It's got as much soul as mes souliers. Funky funk of Lavoisier. A track as hot as banana flambe. Funky funk of mes souliers. A track that's got as much soul as mes Lavoisier. Dr. Chirs Caputo on the bass. Thank you very much. I've been Xave Ruth. That's been Dr. Chirs Caputo. Thanks for having us.